This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. What's up, everybody? It's Caitlin Sakassis from Fluent in 3 Months, and today I'm going to be reviewing Japanese Uncovered by Ollie Richards. And in case you didn't get it from that awesome opening I did, it's going to be a little bit Star Wars themed. And I'm going to thank my Fluent in 3 Months teammate, Elizabeth, for this because she recently reviewed one of Ollie's other courses and she did the whole thing Star Wars themed. And it was awesome, but I can't get outdone with Star Wars. I am such a huge Star Wars fan. I literally was Princess Leia at my wedding. I had to make my own Star Wars themed review here, so I hope that you enjoy it. If you're a Star Wars fan, maybe you'll get a kick out of it. But either way, stick around because you definitely need to know about Japanese Uncovered by Ollie Richards. So, yosh, hajimemashou. So first, let's talk about what is Japanese Uncovered. Japanese Uncovered is a Japanese language learning program created by Ollie Richards, one of Benny Lewis's fellow polyglot friends, and he created this awesome course that helps you learn Japanese through story. That's his whole method, is learning the languages through story. As an avid reader, that really appealed to me, and I really love learning Japanese through story. But one of the things I've struggled with the whole time I've been studying Japanese is to find stories in Japanese that are at my level. Because in my opinion, it's very hard to find Japanese resources that are just slightly above your current level. So they're not too easy and they're still challenging, but they're not so hard that you get frustrated and you can't hardly read. That has been a huge struggle of mine for years now, and I was so excited to see that Ollie finally came out with a Japanese version of his programs. Now, as a disclaimer, Ollie's program is aimed at beginner Japanese learners, and I am not a beginner Japanese learner. I have been learning Japanese for a long time. However, it was still very helpful for me to take his course, to see his method and to learn from it, and I definitely have some cool insights to share with you about it. That said, even though I am an avid reader and I was very intrigued by the idea of learning Japanese through story, I was super skeptical about it because Japanese has 3 writing systems. How can you start learning Japanese from reading when you don't even know how to read or write the language? So I was pretty skeptical about how he would do that because I've taken a lot of other courses and it's not gone very well, or it's still very difficult to learn. So I was curious to see how he would manage it, but I did have a lot of hope in Ollie, as Princess Leia always believes in hope. And I did think, he's so talented as a teacher that, I'm very curious to see how he does. So if my teammate Elizabeth is the Han Solo of language learning, I am the Princess Leia. What I mean by that is, in her German Uncovered article, she said that she is the Han Solo of language learning, where she doesn't like to be prepared, she doesn't like people telling her what to do, she doesn't like following a lot of structure when it comes to language learning. And I am the opposite of that. I take charge with a well thought out battle plan. I always have my list of resources, my game plan. I'm very organized, and I always have hope. Because let's face it, if you're going to learn Japanese, you have to have a lot of hope because you're a rebel. Japanese is one of the hardest languages for English speakers to learn, so that means that you are a rebel at heart and you have to have hope to stick through it. And even though I have actually failed learning Japanese several times before, I kept that hope and I conquered my Death Star. So I wanted to encourage you to do the same. And I think that Japanese Uncovered is a way to do that, because I wish I had a resource as amazing as this when I first started, because it would have made learning Japanese so much easier. So was the force with Ollie when he was creating Japanese Uncovered? Short answer, yes. Japanese Uncovered takes you through 20 story chapters. It's so in-depth, it's so well thought out. You get the audio at normal speed and slow speed. You get the PDFs in Romaji, which is Japanese written in English characters, kana and kanji. You get a vocabulary lesson, you get a grammar lesson, pronunciation, culture. He covers everything you need to know to really get a well-rounded view of the Japanese language right away. So the general method of learning through story is that Ollie has you listen to the story 1, 2, or even 3 times, and then you read along with the PDF while listening to the story. After that, you read the English translation to see how much you understood, if anything, and then you go into the next lesson and he starts breaking down the vocabulary and then the grammar, and then you also work with Ai Sensei, his co-author of the program, and she teaches you a lot about pronunciation and different things about Japanese. Ai Sensei was super cute, and she was such a great addition to this particular course because I've also been going through Spanish Uncovered by Ollie, and Ai Sensei adds a lot to it. She is very cute. She's a great teacher, and I learned a lot from her about different etiquette practices and things like that. So one of the things I really liked about this course was that it doesn't only talk about vocabulary and grammar. He also adds a lot about culture because, and I've been saying this for years, you cannot really learn Japanese without understanding the culture. And I think that is such a misconception because there are other languages that you can get to a conversational level without having a deep understanding of the culture. I think culture is always important to learn. But there are some that are closer to your own native language that maybe you don't need to familiarize yourself as much with as far as the culture goes. That's not the case with Japanese. Japanese is culture shock to a lot of Westerners. It's very, very different. And if you don't understand the culture, you're not going to understand the mannerisms, which play a huge, huge role in the language. The language is very contextual, so if you don't have that base of how people interact with each other, you're going to miss out on a lot of the context. And just a lot of the gestures and even the nuances of the language, you just miss it. So I was so thrilled to see that Ollie included culture as a huge aspect of his course. Every single module or chapters contains a culture lesson. As they say in Star Wars Clone Wars, experience outranks everything. And the person who has the most experience with Japanese culture is the one who's going to get ahead. So that's why I was so happy to see that as part of this course and what truly set it apart for me. The course is kind of long, but it's super in-depth. Being 20 chapters, it will take you probably several months to get through it. However, it is so well thought out and so in-depth. You can go from an absolute beginner level in Japanese to definitely an upper beginner, lower intermediate level with this one course. That may not sound like a huge jump for how long the course is, but when you consider how hard Japanese is and how you have to learn 3 writing systems, you have to learn how to pronounce it, you have to learn the grammar, that's actually a huge jump for one course. If you compare it to things like Genki 1, which is a very standard Japanese textbooks that they learn in college, you go through Genki 1 over one whole year, and it really only gets you to a JLPT N4 level, which is, I would say, actually slightly below what Ollie gets you to with his course. There are a few differences, of course. In a traditional Japanese textbook, you will learn more kanji, but he doesn't leave kanji out. You do learn it. So there are some gaps where I can't exactly compare it to a JLPT level, but I definitely think that you would be setting yourself up for a JLPT N3 level working towards that. I was also pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to pick up the grammar the way he taught it. Grammar patterns that took me a very long time to learn in college were like this in his course, and he explains it so well and makes it so easy that I was very surprised. And because he integrates it so smoothly very early on, you learn how to say a lot of Japanese things fast. Another pro about the course is that he really focuses on real life Japanese language. So a lot of times when I've studied Japanese through textbooks or different programs or apps, they focus a lot on classroom vocabulary and classroom conversations or very, very stiff Japanese. And one of the things that I liked is that Ollie's course immediately jumps into real life Japanese. There is no fluff, with the exception of a few slightly unnatural grammar that you have to learn just to kind of understand the basics. He jumps right into it. You learn so many important phrases for everyday Japanese life that I didn't learn for a long time in a traditional classroom setting. So I think that he does an amazing job with that. Then with Japanese Uncovered, you also get some worksheets that come with it. So you get plenty of practice. There's little sample quizzes, and there's even a speaking activity worksheet. So the speaking activity worksheet, it gives you the option to do it yourself, but it also has a section for your language tutor or language exchange partner, which is awesome because then you can just hand that over and they immediately know what you need to work on and study and kind of really retain what you've been learning. So now let's talk about the dark side of the Force, the cons. To me, there really was only one con about the Japanese Uncovered program, and that's because for my taste, I do think that learning the kana was a bit slow. I firmly believe that you can learn kana in a week if you really try, and I think it's very important to do so. The reason being that so many Japanese resources expect you to at least be able to read kana I mean, off the bat. So by spreading it out over several weeks of the course, even possibly up to several months, depending on how slow or fast you go through it, I think it's actually holding you back just slightly, because then you can't jump into other native resources from Japan to help you integrate what you're learning with Ollie. You can't pick up other reading materials as easily to practice with. So that was my only con. Otherwise, I definitely think that Ollie was strong with the Force, that he is a Jedi Master of the light side, and that he did an amazing job coming up with this course. So is Japanese Uncovered the chosen one? Well, I certainly think so, because honestly, I hope he comes out with an intermediate version. I would love to take a harder version of this course that would help me level up my Japanese even further. I absolutely loved learning through story with Ollie. I think that he's an amazing teacher. He's so well spoken and he speaks Japanese very well. So if you are interested in learning Japanese, I definitely think that you need to check out Japanese Uncovered by Ollie Richards. Save yourself the hassle. Take it from me as someone who's learned Japanese and failed several times. This is hands down the best Japanese program that I have found to truly learn real Japanese. So, that being said, make sure you check out the link in the description box so you can read the rest of my Star Wars themed review of Japanese Uncovered if you want more details. And make sure to check out his program. Seriously, if you are all interested in learning Japanese, you need this. So, that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment, like this video, share it if you think that it was awesome, and let me know what you think. If you've taken one of his programs too, I'd love to hear your comments. So, I'll see you in our next Japanese language learning video. Ganbatte ne minasan! Ja ne!